Everyone makes fun of me as a henpecked husband and wife slave, only because I'm weak, timid, and obedient. I revere my wife at home, treating her like an ancestor. Her statements alone are legally binding. But in the 3rd year of our marriage, I not only had no regrets, but I also became an inept husband, letting my wife and her partner spend spring evenings at home. That man put his arm around Willow's shoulders after they were finished. Like some naive villain in a television drama, they laughed haughtily and brashly. I sipped some soup and led him to the door with dignity. Willow leaned comfortably on the railing upstairs, strolling leisurely. She gave me a sloppy smile and exclaimed, "Honey," as soon as our eyes locked. "You know, you could give it a try. Perhaps a young, attractive girl could help you get back on your feet." She always enjoyed dragging other people's dignity under her feet, so I knew she was making fun of me. However, I merely bowed my head and gave a small grin. Willow was unaware that the games I played were much more extensive than hers. Chapter 1. I heard spatulas colliding in the kitchen after returning from a business dinner. Upstairs, the bedroom light remained on. After 3 years of marriage, Willow had never entered the kitchen with me. Even the housekeeping had left for home by midnight. After pausing, I made my way to the kitchen. I wasn't shocked to see the man inside slicing bones. I didn't smell the smell of hangover soup until I was closer. At 20-something, his unadulterated energy appeared limitless. I had to acknowledge. He had on a tank top from the gym. His arms and shoulders were firm. Given that he grinned and murmured, "Willow," perhaps he heard someone approaching. "This knife is a little boring, so please help me replace it out." Taking another kitchen knife, I dutifully gave it to him. The rest of his words died in his throat as he turned to smile and said, "Didn't I tell you to go relax?" Tiny fragments were brushing close to my feet as a porcelain platter smashed upon the marble floor. The man's face went white. He hesitated, his voice shaking. "Mr. Wang, please don't be impulsive." I kept my eyes on his neck and shoulders, where my wife's recent indulgence in pleasure was evident from a line of lipstick markings. I asked with a composed smile, "Could you please give me a small chapter 2 on the hangover soup?" I can't really recall when my Willow's marriage began to deteriorate. She was with her previous security when I first caught her. I was completely unprepared for that day. I noticed tangled shadows on the sofa Willow and I had previously selected together when I opened the door. That man ran away in terror when he saw me, like he was only dropping Willow off. Willow, in the meantime, pretended to be completely inebriated. Their poor acting could have cost them for 50 years. The entertainment industry was blacklisted. Although I was aware Willow had consumed alcohol that day, she was not intoxicated. Furthermore, I understood that man was only interested in using her inebriation for his own gain. However, given that things had already progressed that far, his eventual incarceration was not shocking. I've always had a good memory, so I knew the man across from me right away. From me as Makoto, a person I had met 4 months before. I had driven to Liu Corporation that day. In the pouring rain, I watched as he gathered Willow into his embrace. I saw him carefully load her into his vehicle. The atmosphere was so idyllic that appeared to have been taken from a romantic drama. I looked blandly at the man beside the table as I took another sip of the hangover soup in my bowl. Makoto kept his head down and his fists gripped tightly, causing his fingertips to grow pale. I was about to scoff at him. "It's late." Startled, he looked up abruptly and declared, "I'm going to leave now." Mr. Wang. He was sufficiently aware to know his place, so it wasn't too horrible. It makes sense why Willow retained him for so long. He didn't request to see Willow one last time upstairs. He just picked up his phone and obeyed, and moved in the direction of the door. He abruptly turned around halfway there and said, "Mr. Wang, remind Willow to drink the hangover soup," he advised. "Otherwise, I'm concerned that she might feel ill tomorrow morning." I gave a nod of assent. Willow left the bedroom carefully as soon as the door closed. She wore a tiny slip dress. Her voluptuous form was barely covered by the lace fabric. I glanced at her and then averted my gaze. "You heard it," I said. She said quietly, gripping the railing as she descended the steps, "I don't need to remind you." I hadn't experienced intimacy with Willow in a long time. The rotation of her sleeping companions had never ceased. However, I was never accepted. We were barely surviving as a married couple. "Sweetheart," she called me with a soft voice. I raised my head. "Maybe you should give it a try, too," she replied, blinking at me. "Who knows? Perhaps a young, attractive woman, a female, might help you get back up." Chapter 3. As I gazed at her fragile face, I briefly recalled our wedding day. Everybody was grinning and wishing us a happy old age together. Only David, my closest friend, maintaining a straight face. When the staff member asked me to walk in, he gave me a shoulder pat and remarked, "George, welcome to the swamp," he added with a shrug. An affluent marriage is more akin to an interest-based transaction. At first glance, my marriage to Willow seemed more like a store window display. People would be amazed at what we resembled each other exactly. However, nobody considered how degraded the materials were underneath the shiny exterior. Sincerity from those at the top was an uncommon weakness behind the shadow of wealth and power. Chapter 4. The phone on the table buzzed once. I never imagined that my own wife would be the one pushing me to cheat. I noticed a message from the contact saved as "Young pretty girl" when I looked down. I was seated across from Willow. I got up, used a tissue to wipe my mouth, and said, "Something came up. I'm heading out." She responded faintly. Few vehicles remained on the road at midnight. I drove all the way with ease to the place Anna had sent me to. Cars were still parked in large numbers outside the bar. 5 or 4 young lads gathered in a group, discussing who knows what. Then I saw her standing beneath the streetlight right away. Anna. The girl had a slim, well-proportioned form, and her face was blurred by the white light above, yet nonetheless remarkably lovely at first look. I pulled over to the side of the road, got out, and went over. She raised her head and called out, "Anna!" But a boy hurried out before she could say anything from behind and obstructed our path. I scowled at the overpowering smell of booze. He gave me a forceful shove with unexpected strength. He said in a harsh tone, "Hey, where are you from? You're too old to be making advances on a young girl." I was just 28 years old. However, I unavoidably exuded an air of adult guile after spending so many years in the egotistical world of wealth and power, a stark contrast to pupils who have not been exposed to society. His voice was brimming with contempt as he gave me a once-over. I raised my eyebrows, but before I could say anything, I said, "You don't really think Anna would go for some old man like you, do you?" He was shoved aside by someone behind me. His inebriation subsided little as he stumbled. "Anna!" There was a chill in the night air as Anna said, "He's my senior." After freezing, the boy instantly bowed his head in apology. I apologize for not. Anna abruptly interrupted him. "My group of friends doesn't require your intervention. Martin, a classmate. For that, we are not even close to familiar enough." After pausing, she said, "Maybe you ought to locate a teacher to remind you of the importance of manners." In a flash, the boy's face went white. It was almost as if I could hear his heart breaking. "Thank you. Too sad." Chapter 5. Anna and I also met in a pub. The early escalation of Willow's crisis caused the stock price of the firm to decline, and I had to work myself to the bone on PR. I came to the bar by myself in frustration to find a diversion. The area was packed with loud noises. The bartender smiled and quipped, "Who knows? Maybe you'll run into A Beauty to cheer you up." I simply got up and went to the bathroom without agreeing or disagreeing. On my way back in the corridor, I just so happened to stumble into a confession scenario. I heard a man yelling with all of his strength above the loud music, "Please give me the opportunity to be your boyfriend because I like you." I was unable to hear the girl's response properly, so, curious, I leaned forward. I saw the man walking away in shame. The girl turned around at that time. I caught a glimpse of her face at last. Anna, the Zhu family's heiress, was born. With the world's purest golden spoon. A businessman has a keen sense of instinct, and I decided right away. I took a step forward. "Heiress," he remarked, giving her a gentle shoulder pat. I continued, "I'm not like those other men. I'm a married man." Anna couldn't speak. Chapter 6. The heart could be soothed by a beauty that descended from the sky. She could also restore full strength to a middle-aged guy who had been weakened by life. Ultimately, I could easily get billion-dollar contracts if I could collaborate with the Zhu family. Dealing with those cunning old foxes in the corporate world was much more difficult than appeasing her. Years following graduation, I openly expressed my concern for the Zhu heiress by posing as a fellow pupil and using my teacher's network. Winning over girls, whether they were adult seductresses or not, was my specialty when I was younger. I would have no trouble dealing with conceited tsunderes or naive lolis. Anna, however, was untouchable. She skillfully sidestepped all of my overtures, enclosing all of my friendly gestures under the honorable designation of a senior caring for a junior. Similar to tonight, when I was not showing care for a fellow disciple to pick her up intoxicated, I went to the bar. Chapter 7. Anna Shu was already seated in the passenger seat when I turned on the ignition. I leaned over and lowered the strap as she whispered softly, "I'm sorry to bother you today," and fastened the clasp for her. She became quiet as her breathing became shallow and constrained. She had a subtle citrus scent that I could nearly sense. When I turned around, our noses almost touched and our eyes locked. I grinned. "What made you stop speaking?" Anna almost snapped at me right away, shoving me away. "Too near, what are you doing?" Her ears turned crimson, like the wintertime puffiness of a ragdoll cat. She mumbled, "George, can't you talk properly?" while biting her lip. After pausing, she went on, "Thank you for picking me up today. But persistently bothering you in this way, with one hand on the wheel and leaning back in the driver's seat, I said sincerely, I don't even know how to thank you. We don't require gratitude because we are fellow disciples. You might as well be married to me if you truly don't know how to pay me back." The ragdoll cat, George, erupted. I quietly said, And then I inquired, "What directives does the heiress have for me?" The heiress scowled and closed her mouth, indicating her displeasure. She paused for a long moment before finally saying, "You're not an old man." I questioned the girl in the passenger seat, remained silent for a long time before answering, "So, will you or won't you marry me?" When a red light pauses, I looked across at Anna. Her hand was propped up on my chin, her half-lidded eyes resting on mine. A brilliant light reflected from the thing on my ring finger, an obvious wedding band. The majority of those in our circle disliked donning wedding bands. In a hollow. Marriage, love, and faithfulness have little to do with each other. Naturally, I was viewed as an anomaly. They initially made fun of me for being a henpecked husband. However, I never lost my temper. In fact, I nearly took delight in it. They called me a simp as a result, believing that I could put up with my wife playing around with other men because I was so thirsty for her love. As soon as the traffic, "I don't date men who already have wives," Anna said calmly, as the light changed from yellow to green. Chapter 8. I saw my brother David at the auction the following day. He looked into the shadows, rings under my eyes, and made fun of me, saying, "Well, you've finally found someone, but you still need to look after your health." I let out a pathetic sigh. No, I was merely a nighttime driver for someone. David gave me an examination. "Why do I feel like Anna's on a pretty high level?" he asked carefully. I didn't confirm or deny. The antique necklace up for auction today is what drew my attention. I intended to send it to Madame Shu tomorrow after winning it. A competent businessman is always adept at satisfying the needs and preferences of others. I only came today for that purpose. The last, most cherished item was displayed by the staff. Under the lights, the elaborate, beautiful necklace gleamed brilliantly. The auctioneer's introduction was unnoticed. I raised my paddle as soon as the beginning price was revealed. My bid was called by the auctioneer. Others immediately started to up the ante. 3 million, 3.5 million, 3.5 million. I raised my paddle once more after giving it some thought. The auctioneer declared 3.8 million. Then there was silence. "Any higher offers?" he inquired. Once, 3.8 million. Then, 4 million. 3.8 million twice. He was interrupted by an unexpected voice. I turned toward it out of instinct. Willow was sitting there with her paddle still up, smiling directly at me, while curled up in a man's arms. Makoto, observing my eyes, yawned lazily. I pulled my eyes away. 4.5 million. 3 points, 4. 4 points. 4.5. Willow was intent on challenging me to match my bids exactly. The individuals in our immediate vicinity lowered their gazes as if they were not discreetly taking in the drama of a wealthy couple's public backlash. My temples were pinched by a headache. I got up and scowled as I approached Willow. "You always felt gold jewelry was tacky, I recall." "I just suddenly feel like that necklace suits me," she said, rolling her eyes. She took Makoto's hand and held it just above her chest's gentle rise. "What do you think?" she questioned him. "Don't you think that would look great here?" Makoto noticed right away and hurried to respond. "Naturally. You would look gorgeous in it. Miss Lou Willow gave me a mocking wink with her peach blossom eyes. I wrenched my eyes away. I was on the verge of losing the poise I had kept for years. Willow enjoyed making fun of me. Her admirers had come up with many increasingly inventive ways to torment me over the years. The one occasion when I had lost, when I punched one of them myself 2 years ago, I maintained my composure. I no longer even remember his face. The only thing that sticks in my mind is how Willow quickly seemed happier when she saw how angry I was. She grasped my hand. As she cooed honey, she nuzzled it to her cheek. Please let me know if he annoys you. You don't have to get your hands dirty. Chapter 9. I left without saying anything more. Within, the necklace's fate was decided when the auctioneer's gavel dropped. I watched as workers guided Willow at the entryway, and Makoto to complete the acquisition. My mood immediately improved when Willow got the jewelry after making the payment. I bent down and messaged the heiress Annie, who I had in my contacts. Where are you? Anna instantly responded, Laboratory. After checking the time, I inquired, have you had dinner yet? Have you noticed that the typing bubble persisted for a long time without sending a full message? So I emailed Private Kitchen Alley another one myself. Hold on to me. In around 40 minutes, I will arrive at your university gate. David looked at me as soon as I put my phone aside. Driving the heiress's meal delivery service today, I gave a nod. He paused as if he wanted to add more. I simply grinned. David, I said, I run a business. Chapter 10. I was at the perfect moment. Anna stood at the gate to the school, like an idiot goose, locked in place. She had an innocent, awe-inspiring cuteness about her. I parked my vehicle in front of her. She received the present from the passenger seat after the window was rolled down. Anna gave me a gentle thank you. I was ready to make fun of her with a comment when I noticed 2 very familiar-looking people nearby. It was a little world. It turned out that my wife had also picked up a college player from this same institution. Willow already wore the necklace she had recently purchased. It was too brilliant to hide, even at night. However, the purpose of jewelry is to enhance the wearer. It looks out of place and doesn't fit the person wearing it. Willow just lacked the charisma necessary to wear something so expensive. She was now only the background of the necklace. My stupid wife. Even though they are older, they continue to play innocent games of competition and jealousy. Anna looked after me. With Willow's back to us, just Makoto's face was in view. You know, he's actually kind of handsome, I murmured, averting my eyes and casting an interested glance at Anna. She tilted her head in uncertainty as she turned to face me. My wife likes this type, I said. Anna caught my attention. Anna yelled out very immediately, I don't like that type. Our words slammed together. After a moment or two of inaction, I smiled mischievously. The heiress's cheeks suddenly became red. She put her free hand over it. It aroused my interest. I said, what kind do you prefer? One wanted to squeeze Anna's skin since it was so delicate, like a snow mochi with too much strawberry filling. Silently, Anna pursed her lips. I exclaimed, heiress, and she replied, George. She lowered her hand, looked at me, and took a breath, the scarlet still hanging to her ears. What exactly did you mean when you said your wife likes that type? She inquired. Liking a type just means liking a type. What else might it indicate that I didn't respond to her? I just smiled and waved. Let's have some food. It's growing late. Anna scowled, looking a little displeased. She sighed after a moment and inquired, are you free next Friday? And was amused. Laughing, George yelled my name fiercely. Heiress, are you going to start a forbidden romance? Redness rose in the ears. All I want to do is give you a lunch in appreciation for looking after me. Just the 2 of us, I begged. I added, as Confucius once said, food and desire are the great urges of humanity. She said, heiress, you're playing with fire when you see a guy and lady dining alone. I grabbed Anna's cheek and pinched it. My finger pricked her dimples because she was unable to dodge in time. As if she had been scorched, she leaped away. With a chilly huff, if you're too busy, forget about it, she added. Anna avoided looking into my eyes. Her tone was unyielding. Of course I'm free, I replied. Then I grinned. I'll see you on Friday. Chapter 11. I thought Makoto would approach me. I simply didn't anticipate his arrival so soon. I was still going through some documents when I got the message on my phone. I sent the files to Secretary Shen after reviewing it. I'll return in around 30 minutes. I would like you to host the first 5 minutes of the meeting. She gave a nod of consent. I drove to the cafe Makoto had selected after going downstairs. He stood and greeted me as soon as he spotted me. Mr. Wang. I gave a nod. I ordered you a cup of tea because I remembered you don't like coffee, he remarked with a smile. I tilted my head. Is that okay? You said you had something to tell me when I inquired. What is it? Makoto gave me a paused look before taking a deep breath and saying, Mr. Wang, word for word, Miss Liu is expecting a child. As he continued, Mr. Wang, his brows were furrowed and his demeanor was somber. I won't mince words because you already know about Willow and me. I own this child. He hesitated, eyelids lowered as if squeezing back a wave of feelings. Then he stated, I decided to be truthful since I am too familiar with the anguish of being duped into caring for a child that belongs to another man. Only after raising my brother and myself did my own father discover that neither of us was biologically his. Mr. Wang, I put down my teacup and interrupted him. I remember Willow has consistently taken good care of the safeguards. I was briefly taken aback by the sudden change. Makoto's head dropped. He spoke in a raspy, guilty voice. I am solely to blame. This mess was the result of a moment's carelessness. I won't fight back, Mr. Wang, if you want to hit or curse me. His voice faltered, but as he spoke, his eyes remained fixed. Mr. Wang is a real gentleman who makes other people happy. Since Willow and you have been apart for a long time, why don't we get together? I'll take good care of her. Willow had always struck me as stupid. The man she selected as her stand-in was just as much of a useful idiot than I had anticipated. I looked at the clock and saw that I could be done in less than 30 minutes. I grinned. Mr. Ito. He froze his eyes blank as I questioned, Do you know why I agreed to see you today? His genuine awkwardness was evident. My time is precious, I said. Typically, I never get involved in Willow's business. However, you're unique. I grinned. I've always thought highly of you. You're not only accountable, but you also have a strong bond with Willow. I can relax when I leave her in your care. I've always been generous with my praise, especially to someone so unsophisticated. I raised my hand, smiled, and gave him a shoulder pat before saying, I'll bother you with this. Let me get divorced from Willow and take this chance. Can you finish Chapter 12? Anna drove herself the day she came to meet me. I couldn't help myself after staring at her car for a few seconds. I muttered, gritting my teeth. Rich folks, damn you. After all those years of back and forth strategizing in the business world, it was still incomparable to having everything given to you at birth. Don't you count as one yourself? Anna asked with a laugh. I sighed on the road. I heard the saying, one day you'll grow into the person you hate the most. When I was younger, Anna's head cocked. I answered, rich people, and asked what kind of people you despise. Anna couldn't speak. There was a lot of atmosphere in the restaurant where we visited. We idly spoke while sitting by the window. Midway through the dinner, a birthday cake on a little cart was pushed over by a waiter. I gave Anna a startled glance. The girl looked up at me, smiled teasingly, and wished the person a happy birthday. I decided to treat you to dinner since I was at a loss for what to get you. I smiled thoughtfully. An ambiguous approach is the most effective strategy to bridge the gap between two strangers of different sexes, flirting with half-reality. A single dinner might put our relationship in the perfect place, much like a lasting gift. For this reason, I never offered Anna any pricey gifts despite my best efforts to win over Madame Shu. Anna, however, never went over the red line. She was always just close enough to touch it. Why did the restaurant lights flicker before I could say anything after taking a piece of the food? Then the main piano melody abruptly became romantic. A number of waiters carried flowers as they left, pushing a big cake with two realistic-looking figurines on top. I listened with my chin massaged while the crew complimented the couple at the next table, wishing them a happy anniversary and an eternity of love as they aged together. Now that's true devotion, I said. Anna examined her complex expression. She whispered while biting her lip. Perhaps your wife is likewise meticulously preparing dinner for you at home right now. Her speech was halting, stumbling. I gave her a smile. Anna looked directly into my eyes, but after a while she dropped them as if to avoid me. I nonchalantly nodded for her to gaze at the couple after saying, You really don't know me at all. She had previously seen Makoto, one of them. The other was a young woman who was crying heartily. My wife is right there, I said, pointing at her while laughing. Chapter 13. The wine glass on the table almost fell over when Anna stood up. Reaching out, I grabbed her wrist. The girl stopped moving and looked into my half-smiling eyes. For the first time, as if I were a plague, she didn't yank her hand away. I smiled at her and shrugged. Why don't you remain and join me for a drink, heiress? Chapter 14. Neither Anna nor I had had anything to drink when I sent her to the motel. I was preparing to bid them farewell when I heard her question George. You went to the bar because of her on the first day we met. Anna sat in her chair and raised her eyes to face mine without flinching. Didn't you? There was a slight flush to her pale skin from the booze. However, her eyes were as brilliant as a starry night. Anna seems to have rejected people from the moment I met her. Cold, distant, and noble. A heiress brought up in a refined and rigorous familial heritage. She would only become a bit angry when she was facing me. Maybe that was the ideal evening. Maybe it was the slight drunkenness. Everything told me that this was the ideal time to express our true feelings. I moved forward and extended my hand. Anna didn't back down. Gentle girls were always far too tender, as was to be anticipated. I laughed bitterly. I truly am a complete failure. I pretended to be blind even though I knew she was cheating all along. As long as I wasn't directly in front of it, it was merely a rumor, I assured myself. I spoke in a raspy voice. Behind my back, I get laughed at by everyone, claiming that even though I still wear our wedding ring, the infidelity mark is soldered to my head. I let out a sigh. I met you in the bar that day. It was revealed that she was taking a vacation with a different man. Her birthday was that day. I even had a surprise planned, awaiting the opportunity to join her in celebrating. I had no idea that someone else had already begun to celebrate. I was hurting that day, drinking excessively. I glanced at Anna and wondered, why not me? It was still in the moonlight. That particular evening had the sort of magic that has the power to transform lies into truth. I touched Anna's face and muttered, why should I keep swallowing my anger? I added, and then I saw you as she froze and muttered, George, you are unique, not like anyone I've ever encountered. It's just a disguise, yet you exude a sense of detachment that is frigid and impenetrable. When individuals are weak, I've witnessed a lot of them wallowing in self-pity. However, you are unique. You keep that vulnerable, frail side hidden so well that no one ever notices. We locked eyes as I leaned in closer. We were so close that our breaths mingled. Her face flushed deeper and redder. Her eyes began to softly sparkle with tears. Will you stay with me tonight? I asked quietly. Or, I leaned closer and whispered in her ear, give me an opportunity to work with the Shu family. Chapter 15. Anna was staring at me with tears in her eyes. Anna stood motionless. Anna couldn't speak. Anna had a lot of questions on her face. Chapter 16. I took a step back. In front of the Zhu heiress, I nearly burst out laughing. Anna Shu's face changed magnificently before she eventually returned to her original self. She had a water-dripping black face. George. The girl angrily called my name. I smiled as I replied, heiress. Quit consuming so many prime-time melodramas. I gestured with my hand. Get into bed early. Tomorrow morning, I'll come get you and drive you back to campus. Anna looked at me while gritting her teeth and remaining silent. She abruptly shifted as I turned to leave my hand almost brushing the doorknob. I was enveloped by a lovely scent. Her tender body closed in. I went cold. She then bit onto my shoulder and wrapped her arms around my neck. George. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in Anna's voice, somewhere between rage and complaint. Anna rushed herself into my arms when she shouted, "You win!" My ear was touched by her voice, with a hint of resignation in it. I'll offer you the chance to cooperate if you want me or not. There is just one ailment I have. Tomorrow, she said. Kick that bitch out right away. Chapter 17. There is fire in even a clay figure. I lay on the bed during the break, restless and confused. The sheets were illuminated by the moon. As if attempting to grasp something, I curled my fingers, and someone with keen eyes obediently placed her hand in mine. However, the ringtone broke the silence of the night in the following second. I slid over, let go of the hand in my palm, and took a quick look at my phone. I became immediately sober as I saw the name on the screen. Willow. My wife seemed to have remembered me at last, and I hadn't even arrived home yet. Anna reached first and hit answer just as I was going to throw the phone away. Willow's voice erupted. "Go home, my ass, George. Where are you, and why haven't you returned home yet?" In my mind, that was my response. However, I had just started to respond. When Anna started purring "darling" more intensely, Willow responded right away, raising her voice in a yell. "What on earth are you doing, George?" I started to speak, but Anna abruptly ended the call. Willow was interrupted in the middle of her yelling. I looked in Anna's direction. The girl gave me an innocent blink. I put my palm over her mouth just as it was opening. "According to your state last night, I believed you to be a simple, innocent flower." My lips curled. "I didn't think you were a cunning girl." My palm took a severe bite. After breaking free, Anna bit my shoulder forcefully. "George," she murmured, rolling her eyes. As if it were the most natural thing in the world, the heiress spoke. "Get enough sleep. Return to your work." Chapter 18. The heiress was still asleep when I woke up. Like an octopus clutching to me, I silently got out of bed after prying her hands away. Using my phone, over 40 calls were missed. It's all from Willow. I stopped and pulled over as I was passing the mall. It was almost noon when I arrived home. Willow was slouched on the sofa in the living room when I opened the door. Untidy clothes and hair. On the coffee table next to a cake that was still there was her phone. As I approached to brush her long hair, she abruptly took hold of my hand. She opened her eyes, rimmed in red. Her voice trembled as she bit her lip. "George, last night, where were you?" When she suddenly noticed something, she halted and stared at my hand, murmuring, "Who were you with?" "It's your ring." "Where's your ring?" she questioned. "Honey, where else is your ring?" I removed it. I said, "I brought you a gift," with a sly smile. Looking into her bewildered eyes, I took something out of the shopping bag at the mall. A vivid memory of dishonesty. I smiled. "Ta-da!" I steadily put it on her, and then took a step back to look. There we have it. Giving something back. This cheating suit mark you are superior than everyone else. Without a doubt, a sharp eye. Willow got so angry that she almost choked, violently tearing it off and flinging it to the ground. Her voice was harsh and low as she scowled at me. I shrugged. "Who is it?" "Why ask? Are you going to go cut her hair? We're still married, so I wouldn't suggest it. But even if you do, you will simply make yourself look foolish," I added. She nibbled on her lip. "Who is it?" Willow continued unrelentingly. I gave a small smile. The name Shu was well known, and it was Anna Shu. Willow's expression was one of frozen disbelief. She grasped my arm as soon as she regained her composure. "She couldn't imagine Anna would want me, honey. Aren't you lying to me?" Or perhaps she genuinely believed that I was a worthless husband. Grinning, I took a document out of my bag and threw it in front of her. Divorce documents. Long ago, they had been drafted. I had waited for the same amount of time. Makoto remained too worthless. Sitting opposite her, I pretended to be giving. "Look at it. Assets are divided simply. Mine is mine, yours is yours. I will not exploit you. Please sign them for me today. We should get a divorce as soon as possible." Willow remained still. "I said," she said, "we don't have to get divorced, honey." "Did Makoto mention anything to you about the pregnancy I made up to deceive him?" "Willow," I interrupted her, my face grim. "I'm not requesting your viewpoint. I'm telling you. We can amend the contract if there is a problem. However, the divorce is taking place." She scowled. "Sweetheart, I don't think we need to go this far, considering we were married." I glanced at her and said something. "Deception on financial statements." Her face transformed in an instant. "Miss Liu," I said, "you wouldn't want the media to know about that, would you?" I said, grinning. Chapter 19. Willow took the divorce papers with her. As she departed, I was aware that everything was essentially resolved. Afterwards, I discovered I had been inundated with yet another batch of messages when I eventually checked my phone. "Where are you? Did you visit the office? Are you occupied? Was there an urgent matter? If so, why did you depart so early? I wanted to have breakfast with you, so why didn't you wake me up? Are you going to shirk responsibilities right now?" I took a picture of the cheating symbol on the floor and emailed it to her. "But you don't want to take responsibility for me." "I already gave you a gift," I said. In a gentle, light-hearted tone, Anna answered, "Won't your wife be upset if she finds out?" The Lu Corporation was experiencing significant financial losses under Chapter 20. Among the executives, one had embezzled a substantial sum of money. The Lu family's company would be in danger of going out of business if this were made public. That executive had blood ties to the Lu family. Naturally, she was afraid to give him up, so she could only make an effort to close the gap in finances. I was afraid Willow might bring me down with her if I pushed her too hard. I continued to live at home and work at Wang Corporation as usual during the 30-day divorce cooling-off period. However, Willow had Makoto move in with us as a way to get even with me. They embraced and cooed at one another every day. Occasionally, Makoto's suspicious gaze would stray to Willow's abdomen, which showed no symptoms of pregnancy at all. I was aware that she was using the same deceptive puah tactic on him once more. The sky was clear and brilliant at the end of the 30 days. Willow was driven to the Civil Affairs Bureau by me. The automobile went silent for 10 or so seconds at a red light. Willow spoke abruptly, just a gentle whisper, "Honey," without any sarcasm or abrasive language. Could we have remained together the entire time if I hadn't started looking for someone else? To be honest, Willow and I had experienced what could be described as a period of pleasure in our lives. 3 months, perhaps less. I can't recall exactly. After all, it's hardly worth remembering things that don't matter. In addition, people always become nostalgic just before losing something. She had no real regrets. She would choose the same course of action if she could go back and change it. Didn't respond. Chapter 21. My heart at last felt at peace when I held the red divorce document in my hands. As we exited the building, Willow stumbled a little. "Honey," I said abruptly. Stunned, Willow blinked. I gave her a smile. "Yes," I said, sounding very loving. "If it had always just the two of us together and you hadn't cheated, we would have aged together. Perhaps our business would be inherited by a bright son. We could have led a carefree life, exploring the globe together. And perhaps when we were old and weak, we would continue to gaze at one another and make a silent vow to meet again in the hereafter." I took a fallen leaf out of her hair and stepped forward with a gentle grin. Willow's face faltered for a second, her lips quivering as she muttered, "Honey," but I let out a sigh. "No, you wouldn't." I took a step back, avoiding her hand, and gave her a chilly stare. "You wouldn't, Willow. I recognize you as a cheap, fickle, spoiled, selfish person." Without shame, anger made her face flush red. I said, "Willow, I know you too well." I laughed and said, "That's precisely why I married you. While it lasts, enjoy it. We're divorced now. Your ex-husband's true nature will eventually be revealed to you." Willow moved forward to adjust my tie. "When we were first married, she did." She spoke in a cold tone. "George, no one will ever truly love you." The woman who used to be my sweetheart whispered the cruelest curse in the most private way. Who cares, though? It's like a fish losing a bicycle when you lose love. A faint coughing sound sounded from behind me. I looked over and saw the heiress leaning against the car, looking quite unhappy. I moved away, gave Willow a heartfelt wave. Goodbye. Farewell. Chapter 22. After getting inside the vehicle, leaning over, I secured Anna's seatbelt. The girl refused to look at me, turning her head away in frustration. I took hold of her chin and gave her a kiss in the following second. The heiress was so shocked that her head almost struck the window. Red cheeks flushed. You, she protested, stammering. I laughed. I said, "Are we jealous?" When she said, "You're already divorced," her voice was as bitter as vinegar. I grinned and said, "There's no love left, yet you still allowed her to adjust your tie." Anna gave me a look, wide-eyed, like a tiny cat who is secretly furious, but nevertheless incredibly fond of people. I took out my phone and called a couple of media sites as well as competitors of Lu Corporation. Yes, I had vowed to Willow not to tell the media anything. It was another matter entirely whether or not others told the media. Furthermore, it was never simply that one instance after years of file collection, dozens of terabytes worth. Chapter 23. The whispers that Lu Corporation was being brought down spread like wildfire as news about Willow finally surfaced. Reporters followed Willow everywhere she went. However, she obstinately refused to acknowledge anything, up until a certain afternoon. With a beaming smile, Secretary Sheen knocked on the door of my office. She declared President Wang New shares were recently issued by Lou Corporation. The hook had been bitten by the fish. Chapter 24. Individuals that are unwilling to meet once more don't bother saying goodbye. Under the pressure of public opinion, Lou Corporation had just made it through the inaugural shareholder meeting. Clean sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the meeting room. From this, the masses moving around below were seen. I sighed heavily as I took in the scenery for a time. In actuality, the entire planet is a single enormous pancake wrap. The masked and capped heiress insisted on going with them. Silently, she rolled her eyes. Outside the door, footsteps resounded. The shareholders rushed in. Then, the last pair of footfall coming down the corridor. So recognizable. Similar to years ago, she would rush to meet me prior to our marriage. The same rushed speed. From outside, the largest shareholder, Miss Willow, who is seated at the head of the table, spoke gently in a secretary's voice. The person who purchased it this time turned the swivel chair's wheels. It produced merely the smallest whisper on the heavy carpet. I turned, pressed both hands on the table, and gave Willow a slow smile. "It's been a while. Lou, Miss. I didn't think we'd cross paths again so quickly." Willow almost broke her expression. Chapter 25. The major reason the meeting did not go well was because I put a lot of effort into making Willow feel bad. Not that I was at fault. There were just too many flaws in the Lou Corporation. Numerous times when I asked pointed questions, Willow almost lost it. The more tears she shed, the happier I got. Following the adjournment of the meeting, a succession of stockholders departed. Some attempted to make small talk with me, only to have Willow stop them in the middle. She obstructed my path and raised her storm-black eyes. Her face was so dark, it was dripping ink. Willow snarled George while biting her lip. "You truly are." She gritted her teeth. Horrible without shame. The heiress was about to curse her out, but I restrained her, then gently stroked Willow's shoulder with fictitious dust. I answered in a level voice, "That's harsh of you, Miss Lou. How can you call that sleazy or vile in the corporate world? You did not safeguard your business." Despite my icy eyes, I gave her a grin. "And you alone are to blame for that. There are vicious wolves circling the marketplace on all sides. You never know who might bite when they smell meat. I am a businessman, as I have stated." Leaving Lou Corporation, Chapter 26. As I got comfortable in the car, I noticed a familiar face close to the main door. Abruptly, my hand was grabbed. Angry, the heiress gripped it tightly and used a disinfectant towelette to carefully wipe it. A man fought against security personnel outside the window who were preventing him from entering. Makoto appeared gaunt, degraded. "Please let me in," he said desperately. "I just need to say a few words to Willow. I'll be done quickly." His face was filled with desperation, but the guards were unmoved. "I'm begging you. We can't let you in without authorization, sir," one said. Makoto's voice sounded raspy, strain-induced hoarseness. "Please just give me a chance to see her." He almost fell to his knees. The automatic doors opened at that precise moment. Willow emerged with a cold and aloof look. Makoto froze, then sprang at her at once. Willow, why don't you come see me?" The guards quickly reacted, obstructing him. "Tell me what I did wrong, and I'll make the necessary changes." "They warned you to stop this, sir." Willow didn't move, her eyes gliding over him. Apathetic. "I don't want to see him at the company entrance again," she stated coolly the next time. Makoto's clenched jaws said, "Willow," with rage. "You deceived me," he yelled, his voice breaking. Willow only rolled her eyes, "But you were the reason I got a vasectomy." Then proceed to have it inverted. "It's not like I made you do it. It may fail, of course. In any case, I will never wed a eunuch." As though the final of Makoto had lost all of his strength. As Willow climbed into her vehicle, he ceased to struggle and stare blankly. He stayed there broken and empty. I stayed up until the very end to watch the entire spectacle and took off in their car. Chapter 27. At the company entrance, we pulled over. Anna attempted to take off her seatbelt. However, I ended up kissing the back of her hand after pressing down on it and leaning in closer. The heiress put her hand over her mouth. She playfully reprimanded. Her earlobes tinted a gentle rosy pink, saying, "You can't expect me to keep." I cocked my head in admiration of her beauty, following you without a formal name or location. and grinned. "Are you worried that I'll still pursue another heiress?" I made light fun of the fact that businessmen prioritize profit over goodbyes. Anna looked directly at me, unwavering and steadfast. I recognized myself reflected in them. With a sweet giggle, she asked in a kind tone. "It's hard to say," I said. "Would you?" I've always had a flexible moral compass, lower with the low, higher with the high. "Then, what should I do?" she asked, blinking. As though worried, her voice trailed off to a whisper, but then she spoke with complete earnestness. "I'm a good, chaste woman, which is fortunate because I'm too cute." I nearly laughed out loud. The very next second, I placed a still warm ring in her palm after pulling her hand over. I inquired, "So the Zhu heiress is open to extending our collaboration?" Anna put on the ring and extended her fingers with her eyes and brows curled into a smile. She sighed and nodded, saying, "I have very high moral standards. I am forced to offer myself to you in order to prevent you from lowering yours and becoming lost." Extra. Chapter 1. Anna was taken to the playground to witness a race by her buddy. A large group of supporters had gathered at the finish line when the 800-meter final got underway, babbling loudly. She was dragged into the front row by her pal. One name stood out among the thunderous applause: George. Anna's buddy pointed to the boy in the lead as she raised her eyebrows and questioned, "Who is George?" "That's him." "You don't really know him," Anna retorted. "Do I have to?" Her buddy gave her cheek an awkward scratch. "He's incredibly well known at school, but not really. Consistently in the top 3 grades and active on the student council, and I've heard that he's a really kind guy." Anna remained silent. Around them, the cries became more intense. The boy leading the way was drawing nearer to the finish line. Anna raised her head. In the sunlight, she looked into the boy's intent, concentrated eyes. She had an odd thought that came to her almost automatically. Just for a little while, the boy made it to the end. With the roaring applause, he had no time to slow down. He smashed directly toward the folks in front of him as his momentum propelled him forward. Anna failed to duck in time. That force was about to knock her down when the priceless 800-meter winner snatched her up and held her in his arms. She was too conscious of the intimacy of the interaction. Her body temperature increased immediately after her mind was solely filled with the subtle aroma of catnip. Anna hardly ever dreamed in Chapter 2. Her sleep had always been good. She was therefore frightened when she abruptly woke up, covered in cold perspiration. The dream's substance was not frightening. On the contrary, it was almost tender. For the first time, the girl's rambling thoughts touched the brink of puberty. The man was merely holding her hand in the dream, strolling leisurely along a park trail. The man put his arms around her and leaned down just before she woke up, his head to plant a kiss on her cheek's dimple. Silently, sunlight crept through the leaf layers overhead. It was George's face, too. This was the result of her body going through puberty before her mind. Anna pressed her palms to her face, which was flushed. Feeling unworthy and dirty, a young heiress from a family of bookworms and scholars, she hated herself completely for the first time. On her 21st birthday, Chapter 3, Anna's friends conned her into attending a nightclub. She didn't understand she had been set up until she walked into the private area. While numerous men rushed in, blocking all possible exits, her buddy sat aside, ready to enjoy the spectacle. Anna felt as though her head was going to blow up as she stood there, with her middle ears ringing. Finally, she made up a reason to sneak off, claiming to need the bathroom. Anna called her friend in the corridor. Someone blocked her way before the call even connected, telling her how they felt. She patiently listened, then politely declined. However, the man walked away after cursing her for pretending. When she came back, a few more guys just went out looking for you. Her pal smiled. Anna bit her lip and gave a chilly response. "You're done if you repeat this type of action." At last, her pal on the other end of the line understood that the heiress's tone softened as she apologized to calm Anna down because her mood had become very sour. Anna continued to listen to the other person's speech without paying attention until an arm unexpectedly encircled her waist from behind. Her senses were overwhelmed by the subtle aroma of catnip, which awakened every nerve in her body. There was a dusting of time in the voice near her ear, but sounded as familiar as though it had simply spoken to her the day before. A beat skipped in the heiress's heart. His tone was one of a smile. The small deer inside her chest said, "I'm a married man." The guy murmured in her ear, "Heiress, I'm not like those other men." Off duty for a long time, almost died instantly. Chapter 4. The heiress was inexperienced. Fortunately, though, she was young. Luckily, she was attractive. Luckily, her figure was perfect. Above all, a love that was tinted with a hint of envious darkness was poised to explode through the barrier of moral and societal constraints. Anna's head dropped. Throughout the snow, peach blossoms bloomed, tumbling to the bottom. Only their mixed breaths filled the dark room, loud as thunder in the still night. Her face was suddenly cradled in his palms. Anna looked up. Moonlight streamed into her eyes. Through the glass, her lashes shimmered with tears. Moonlight glistened in her eyes like water-washed jewels, shining even in the darkened room. George looked her in the eye. Is this the bad time to be a cat? Suddenly, Anna recalled a simple nursery rhyme from her early years. A bunch of small painters appeared in the snow. The young ladies sketched bamboo leaves. Peach blossoms were drawn by the kittens. A little smile escaped her lips. She encircled George's neck with her arms. Their tongues and lips intertwined, bringing a gentle tickle with them. She could still smell the catnip at the tip of her nose. He asked a playful question. Anna gave a serious response. "Perhaps I am," she answered.